Tonight, the New York Times has revealed the existence of an illegal FBI deep state coup plan operating for over a year and a half against the president. And what's even more amazing is all of the top members of the deep state from the FBI and Justice Department who are involved have testified to Congress and made public statements that there was no espionage investigation of the president ongoing. And then, just as important, the New York Times has to admit that there was no connections or any evidence of any type connecting President Trump to any type of collusion or activity with the Russians. And then on top of that, we then learned that the FBI was actively covering up Hillary and Robert Mueller and others' connections to Russia and China and others selling this nation out. Now, to understand the big picture and what's coming next and how this nation and the world is at a very dangerous crossroad, it's important to remember that it was Infowars.com and Newswars.com more than 2 years ago that began to lay out what was actually happening from our sources, but also my deep research about how the deep state operated. That's why they were so obsessed with getting us off the air. So after I lay out this latest information that is incredibly historic and dangerous, I'm going to then get into the history of it and what's coming next, because those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. But you're about to find out why InfoWars is so feared and why they want us off the air, because the crimes committed here are high treason. Now let's get straight into it right now. High treason. That's Jim Hoft's headline at Gateway Pundit. It's incredibly accurate. New York Times reveals formation of active FBI coup against President Trump based on outlandish rumors. Hoft does a great job of succinctly boiling it down. On Friday, the New York Times published the latest deep state leak that the FBI investigated U.S. President Trump after he fired crooked director James Comey. The liberal media wants you to believe that Trump is a foreign spy and that crooked Comey is a hero. The report reveals that deep state FBI opened an investigation into the president after he fired James Comey in May of 2017. The investigation was launched based on unverified rumors. And this is what's most important. We now know that Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and George Soros all funded the British Steele dossier, as it's known, all of it proven to be a fraud, all of it to be proven a lie. So again, this was being used during the campaign against Trump, and it was being used to open an illegal national security investigation then that's been discovered. But that was being done by the CIA and others, run by Obama and run by the State Department with all the Hillary cronies. So that's the huge number one crime. But now this new crime that they were trying to frame the president, trying to wear a wire and do all this, the fact that they first denied it and testified to Congress it didn't happen and told the president it didn't happen, Rosenstein and others, shows you the cut and dry crimes that have been committed here. But we've got to ask the question, why are they bringing this up in the New York Times now and admitting the truth? I'll get to that in a moment, but continuing with Jim Hoft. The New York Times admitted in their report that there is no evidence that the Trump campaign ever had any contact with Russian government officials. The New York Times buried this nugget in the 9th paragraph in their sensationalist report. These political operatives leading the FBI should be tried for treason. This is his words. Their job at the FBI is not to run a coup against the sitting president based on ridiculous rumors. They should be tried and hanged. Then he goes into the president's tweets on this subject. Understand, these were individuals appointed and brought in by the Clintons, by Obama, who famously protected Hillary Clinton and others, all of them. Comey, McCabe, Rosenstein. This was the cabal who'd already tried to set the president up with Russians during the campaign, we now know. That was unsuccessful. So now they had to have a new counter-espionage investigation to cover up the fact that they had indeed been involved in criminal spying on the campaign. Here's the New York Times article itself. FBI opened inquiry into whether Trump was secretly working on behalf of Russians. And again, the corporate media uses this like, oh my gosh, they were looking at him. They were thinking he might be a Russian. Instead of it being, they all told us that he wasn't the target, and they all lied to Congress. Of course, he was always the target. FBI investigation into whether Trump was Russian agent handed over to special counsel. Is Mueller still investigating? And we know for a fact they're going to everyone they can who even has any connection to Trump and trying to set them up, saying the Russians want to give you money. The Russians are your friend, and no one has taken the monies. And that's why they're in a total and complete panic mode. Believe me, I know. Continuing, New York Times reveals FBI launched coup against President Trump based on rumors. That is our report, boiling it down at Infowars.com. Comey's fired off cryptic tweets in response to Trump tweet storm, saying that you know a man by his enemies. And then members of Congress and others point out all the laws Comey and others broke doing this. Now, here's another excellent article pointing this out from Gateway Pundit. More deep state crimes. Rod Rosenstein and FBI Director Wray lied to Trump and Congress, said he was not under investigation. And that's why this is such a huge situation. This article goes through the testimonies, through the reports, through public statements by Rosenstein and others. But see, Wray's not going after any of them because he lied to the president as well and claimed he wasn't part of the cabal with McCabe, Comey, Robert Mueller, and others. Very important. Look at that. And the good news is it's even now in the Associated Press that grand juries have been convened, as we first broke over a year ago, to look at the indictment of McCabe, to look at the indictment of Wray, to look at the indictment of Comey and Robert Mueller III. Here's a Newsweek headline. Trump wasn't and isn't target of FBI Russian investigation, says Republican Oversight Committee chairman, who again had testimony by these individuals saying he wasn't. Why are they now having to come out and admit that they were illegally spying on him during the campaign? And then once Trump got into office, they had an FBI criminal investigation into some people that work for him, nothing to do with Russians, but taxi cab companies and things like that, so they could compromise people around Trump to then falsely testify against the president. But because he's so clean, they've not found anything that could ever be connected to him. Out of his thousands of associates, they can find some corrupt people, but they can't pin it to Trump. So why are they bringing it out now? Because they know these grand juries are very close to handing down indictments against these individuals, starting with Clinton operative and Comey apprentice, Comey adjunct, aide-de-camp, McCabe. And they also know that because of Infowars.com and NewsWars.com and our deep research laying out the roadmap of this, that it's on record everything that has happened. And so there's no way they're going to be able to hide it forever. So they're bringing out themselves with the spin that, oh, look, Trump's this mastermind, criminal so bad they were having to criminally investigate him after they lied to the whole world and said they weren't and lied to Congress. All of it based on a fake dossier where none of it's true. There's no witnesses. The Jane Does are fake. Trump is a control freak about running his own life. He isn't in hotel rooms with hookers pissing on him. That's R. Kelly pissing on teenage girls. That's the left protecting him. That's the other way around. So this is the type of stuff these scumbags come up with. Now let me give you what's so exciting about this, but also so dangerous in closing. But first, let's look at articles from a year ago, a year and a half ago, and 2 years ago. Just type into a search engine, deep state preparing coup against Trump with phony Mueller investigation. And even before Mueller got appointed, we had that same headline because that's what it is. And here are some of the headlines from Infowars.com, next year's news today. Deep state pushes coup against Trump over Comey firing. Foreign policy once again promotes COG rhetoric to remove the president. So in policy reports, they were saying they were doing this in white papers that were public. They act like you're a bunch of idiots. At one level, there's all this propaganda and lies that none of this is happening. But when you get into policy reports, like the Council on Foreign Relations and others, they're openly promoting this to the Pentagon, trying to get them on board 2 years ago for a military coup against the president. So that's Kit Daniels, May 10, 2017. Read the entire article Is America a failing state? It details every facet of this information. Again, Kit Daniels, deep state pushes coup against Trump over Comey firing. Deep state mainstream media push coup d'etat against Trump. Jerome Corsi, May 17th, Infowars.com. July 18, 2018, Tucker Carlson, deep state launching coup against Trump to overthrow the election. See, so you see where the research comes from. Now, just getting back to what I talked about earlier, it's not just Gateway pundits saying it's treason or illegal or grand juries have been convened. It's because Jim Hoff has a lot of good sources as well. Prosecutors use grand jury as investigation of Andrew McCabe intensifies. That's the Washington Post admitting there's a good chance he's going to get indicted. Former FBI official McCabe under grand jury probe. Fox News. Now, that's from just in the last few months. Oh, but if you go back more than 6-7 months before, you see tomorrow's news today, breaking indictments ready for McCabe and others. And that's exclusive Alex Jones video posted at Infowars.com where I laid out the grand juries, everything for you. So that's not all the anonymous groups out there that tell you they've got intel but are always wrong. That's absolute proven bona fides. And that's why the globalists are coming for me. And if you understand this key, you understand your life, your neighbor's life, this entire community's life, and what we're facing. Because Infowars.com is the canary in the coal mine. Living through this, studying this, being in the trenches, from the lowest levels to the highest levels, we have an understanding unlike anyone else of what's going on in the deep state from deep study. And that's why this information is so important for everyone's future. And I'm going to lay this information out in this way, as a warning to the deep state, to a warning to the criminal groups that have hijacked this nation and who've sold it out to foreign powers, and who've tried to break our borders and devalue our currency and demoralize our people. I've looked at every angle of this, historically, but also in contemporary terms. There's no way that you are ever going to get away with what you have done. Now, you don't need me to tell you that. I know that you've got powerful corporate and financial and governmental interests that are threatening members of the CIA, the FBI, the Justice Department, and others to get this job done, or that you're all going to go down together. You need to understand something. I'm not going to back down. Trump's not going to back down. The American people have seen this horrible spectacle of the corporate media being weaponized to a new level and understand that this country is in a civil war against true, loyal, good Americans who believe in wholesome free market capitalism and a free nation, and a crew of power-mad lawyers and lobbyists and billionaires, most of them foreign, who really think they can keep America down and continue to dominate us and control us. Just as Pat Buchanan wrote this week in his big editorial to Trump, it's time to declare an emergency. Buchanan says even if Trump doesn't do that, you can look at which way the wind's blowing and know Americans are not going to go quietly into the night and see our nation totally imploded and destroyed and looted. Americans know what's really going on. And even if it was a minority of Americans that were not going to go along with it, you'd never win. But it is a majority of active, focused Americans that understand what's really happening, understand the cost and how serious these straits are. So I'm telling you, you're going to lose. And in the process, you're going to trigger social and economic crises that you've already triggered to try to maintain control that are going to spiral out of control, and you're going to destroy yourselves. Trump has given you a chance the last 2 years to even share power and be reasonable and get with the program and stop trying to run the country into the ground and start all these wars and sell us out to the Chinese communists. And you guys are so pissed and have been so bred and raised to hate America because you were set up to be parasites against it. So it's easier to hate the country. I understand that from your sick perspective, but you're going to lose, and you're fools. I don't want this to go down the road that Jim Hoff talks about with Nuremberg trials and tens of thousands of you guys and gals getting hung from the neck until dead. And I'm trying to stop violence, but you're trying to stoke violence and mass assassination and death. And the entire military that's competent is very, very quietly preparing and is very, very sad that you've taken us to this place. I'm a public figure. I'm all over the country, all over the world. And I know the sense of the people. And you will be absolutely routed and destroyed. You thought Hillary was invincible. You thought you'd have Trump never even inaugurated. You thought he'd be out in the first year. You had all your leaders like Brennan and Clapper and the rest of them get up on television and say, we're going to kill Trump, to look strong and to keep you on the front lines of the deep state, pulling off these crimes in a rearguard action. You're not offensively going to take the country back, no matter how many dumbed down, drooling illegal aliens you bring in and weaponize. It's over. There is no victory you can have, not even a Pyrrhic victory, where you think you win the overall war, but then find out you've been mortally wounded. Your only hope is to not just signal to Trump that you're going to back down, but really do it and shut this down and back off now. Clearly you're not doing that. You're getting all of your censorship grids fired up and ready to take over things at the device level, NewsGuard. You are preparing your civil riots, and we've captured your documents in the last year. We know your whole plan. We have the Soros documents. And if you think suing me or death threatening me or to other people makes us back down, all it does is make us have more energy, more focus, more determination. Because for me, it's not a pissing contest that I'm going to show you my will stronger than yours. If you were just some boss hogs taking over and wanted prosperity, I would not fight to the death on this. You cannot run my life or my children's lives. I see what your governing ruling class wants: the total sexualization of children, pedophilia, drug addicts everywhere, just an absolutely failed, evil civilization. So I want to be clear, this isn't just something that I'm willing to do. Every cell, every fiber of my body burns with a desire to awaken my fellow humans and to defeat the scourge that you represent. True rotten tyranny, true evil come to our shores, true dug-in corruption that refuses to back down even in the face of defeat. And I understand it's because many of you serve a very evil God. You serve darkness, but many of you are mercenaries. Many of you got caught up in the whole law firm society that is the FBI and the federal government, where it's all fake bravada and a bunch of white shoe candy asses talking tough and then strutting around Congress trying to look aggressive. It's all a con game. It's all a collapsing, failed facade, because now you've encroached on people that don't want power in DC or LA or New York. Now you're pushing into our lives. You're pushing into our children. You're taking over our churches. You're bankrupting our country. And you have cornered us, and we can't back down. It's impossible. This is your come to Jesus moment. This is where the rubber meets the road. You fight for money or power or because you're in a peer pressure system in the swamp. Most of us never wanted to go to the swamp. Most of us never wanted petty power over other people and to strut around and act tough and to skim off the top of all the different mafias that operate. And now you have cornered the American people where they live. You're coming in trying to break their will and demoralize them and set yourselves up as real third world style dictators. And you think you can't back down because you'll go to prison. We can't back down because you literally want to enslave and corrupt and destroy our children. So I'm telling you now, we are never going to surrender. We are never going to back down or give up. In fact, we are going to get stronger. We are stronger than ever. We have forced you out into open censorship and open threats. And the American people that you misjudged and thought were a bunch of glad-handing, backslapping cowards like you are not. We have a massive contingent at least 20% of the country that's hardcore ready. 3% kick King George's ass. So just because you've demoralized a lot of the public, those people don't count. They've put themselves on the sidelines to your poison. Understand, the only way for you to come out of this without destroying yourselves politically, culturally, financially, is to face the facts and realize even your top captains like Brennan and Clapper and others have shut their mouths. They're trying to back off now. Most of the elite are leaving the U.S., digging in because they know what they've done and they know there's no way to ever reverse people awakening. So, the nation is under siege from without and from within, but all over the world, nation states are coming back from the dead, and that's the good news. And the fact that the deep state coup has been caught running illegal operations and lying to Congress and trying to stage a coup against the president shows that 2 years and several months into the Trump presidency, he's embattled, he's bloodied, but he's never looked stronger. And I want to thank the listeners and viewers of InfoWars and our stations, TV and radio. I want to thank everybody that's prayed for us. You are amazing. The president's amazing, and we're all trying as hard as we can. And let's just continue to move forward together and pray that God move the hearts of some of these enforcers and minions who know they've been committing crimes to understand that I don't want to be your enemy. I don't want to politically mount your head on the wall. I don't want to have a pissing contest with you. But I'm here to tell you, we are never going to stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. And I can see the different directions we're going, and none of it looks good for anybody. But I can tell you it looks really, really bad for you, particularly in every scenario. It's pointless. You've already lost. All over the world, people are awake. Globalism's in its final death throes. You want to pull back while that ship burns and not go down with it. I know I don't want to go down with it either, but I'm going to stay on the ship fighting as long as I have to while the enemy is still trying to resuscitate it. And if that means I got to be on the ship when it goes beneath the waves, that's a good thing, because I don't have a death wish, but I have a greater wish for my children and everybody's children to live into a free nation and world on the other side. Incredibly historic things are happening. Everyone has to count the cost now and decide which side they're on. So I've had my message to the public. I've had my message to the deep state. And in closing, I just ask the public for more of your prayers and support, because without you, we would not be here. And we have changed history. We've been at the very heart of the resistance, and I'm very, very proud of all of you, because without you, we couldn't have done it. And I'm very proud of this crew up here on Sunday evening, away from their families, to do this because they understand the cost. So again, thank you all. Now, get this article and get this video out to everybody you know in every way you can, on text message, on email, on Facebook, on Twitter. America and the world was sleeping for a long time, but we're not sleeping now. And we are now beginning to take action. And that's why prayer is more important than ever. Thank you all.
And here are some of the steel slats that the president's been talking about right here. As you can see, yes, you can see through these slats to the other side of the U.S.-Mexico border. But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence here in the McAllen, Texas area. As a matter of fact, there are some other businesses behind me along this highway. There's a gas station, Burger King, and so on. But no sign of the national emergency that the president has been talking about. As a matter of fact, it's pretty tranquil down here.
It's an election marred by violence. Since campaigning in Mexico began in September, there have been more than 500 attacks on politicians.
According to reports, the newly elected official was on his way to the town hall for a meeting. Locals are calling for an in-depth investigation, believing there may be others involved.
Video shows Mexican congressional candidate Fernando Puron posing for a selfie with a supporter when a man walks up from behind, raises a gun, and fires point blank at the back of his head.
The national anthem plays, the mayor in the dark suit, hand over heart. The shooting also caught on camera from behind. Hillary runs to the right, then drops to the ground. Shot dead, a single bullet to the chest.
It's pretty tranquil down here.
The officials tell me the average number of arrest, illegal crossing arrest in this sector in McAllen, Texas, Rio Grande Valley is over 640 a day.
Well, you know, 1 in 5 people that we catch has some type of criminal history here in the United States. On top of that, we only catch 40% of what's coming across in this area. So that's 20% of what we catch are known bad guys.
But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence.
There's a lot of people out there that misses him.
And his dream was taken from him. We have to have a conversation about restrictive legislation.
When you tie our hands and don't allow us to work with our federal partners and communicate with our federal partners about people that commit crimes and who are in this country illegally, we're going to have incidents like this.
You know, I think Sanctuary Cities, it's about us being ourselves and who we are and respecting everybody. That's what we do here in San Francisco. It means safer communities. It means diverse communities. It means welcome communities.
No sign of the national emergency that the president has been talking about.
They're dead. I don't regret that. The only thing that I regret is the kill too. I wish I killed more of them.
That illegal immigrant, Luis Bracamontes, had been deported at least twice leading up to the 2014 shootings and could potentially get the death penalty.
I will break up soon and I will kill more.
It's pretty tranquil down here.
But the story in Drudge and Big Store, it's all over the place now. Guys swimming across and big bags of stuff, drugs, swimming across the river, right? Swimming right across. And they put the drugs, and actually the camera crew or the reporters were petrified because they thought they were going to be killed because they're showing this on camera. The guy's carrying bags of stuff. It was drugs.
A CBS News crew witnessed one of those attempts as a man in a raft attempted to smuggle 2 people into the U.S. Their crossing near Roma, Texas, was less than 100 yards from a port of entry where dozens of armed agents are stationed.
The man who was paddling actually walked across. That's how shallow it is there in the river. He was able to walk back onto the other side. He gave us the middle finger and faded off into the tree line. This highlights an ongoing issue that Border Patrol has been talking about. The Rio Grande River, people just swim, they walk across, they come across easily. But what was surprising for us to see is that this happened in broad daylight about 100 yards from that international bridge.
Your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
Well, that's true.
But
they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood.
Border Sector Chief Rodney Scott posted this video to social media showing what he calls repeated breaches to the aging border wall infrastructure in San Diego. And you can see people cutting holes in the wall and kicking right through. It is not known over what time period these videos were recorded. And he wrote, in order to secure the border, we depend on physical barriers, technology, roads, and Border Patrol agents to quickly resolve threats and keep America safe.
And here are some of the steel slats that the president's been talking about.
Last night here in San Diego, the caravan showed its propensity for violence once again when a large group of people congregated on the hill up behind me at about 2 in the morning. And then instead of trying to come north or surrender, they decided to assault Border Patrol agents with a hail of rocks. Our agents responded with the least amount of force they possibly could to protect themselves and the border, and did actually secure the border in this area. One agent was hit square in the face with a rock. Luckily, he had his helmet and shield on and was not seriously injured, but the violence associated with this caravan just continues.
But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence.
I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out where this journey coming up, women are raped at levels that nobody's ever seen before.
Sexual assault against women and girls is so common that many expect to be raped.
Almost all of the girls working the streets in the Mexican border town of Tapachula, where virtually all migrants pass, started their professional lives still dreaming of an ordinary life in the United States.
Shelter directors and human rights protectors estimate that 80% of migrant women crossing Mexico are raped along the way.
Robbery and assault are almost guaranteed. The rape and abduction of young girls and their subsequent imprisonment in brothels is so common the crimes aren't even investigated.
From October 2016 through September of 2017, more than 94,000 people were caught crossing the U.S.-Mexico border and claimed to be part of a family unit coming from Guatemala, El Salvador, or Honduras. Now, you'd think that illegally entering the United States would be an automatic ticket home, and quickly, but you'd be wrong. These people were not sent home. They were allowed to settle in the United States while their cases were resolved, which in practical terms means forever. Of those 94,000 illegal border crossers, only 1,500 have been sent back. In other words, 98% are still here.
As you can see, yes, you can see through these slats to the other side of the U.S.-Mexico border. But as we're walking along here, we're not seeing any kind of imminent danger. There are no migrants trying to rush toward this fence here in the McAllen, Texas area. As a matter of fact, there are some other businesses behind me along this highway. There's a gas station, Burger King, and so on. But no sign of the national emergency that the president has been talking about. As a matter of fact, it's pretty tranquil down here.
President Trump taking his pitch for border security directly to the American people today with his first televised Oval Office address tonight.
Do you think it should be, I don't know, a delay of some sort?
Why in the world would the networks run Donald Trump's address tonight when we know that Donald Trump is going to be using it to spread these lies?
Because people believe it. The president will say what he has to say. People will believe it, whether the facts are true or not.
Why should they run Donald Trump's address tonight when they know he's going to be spreading lies and falsehoods?
The answer to your question, Joe, is they shouldn't. One of the most time-honored and powerful ways a president has to communicate with the American people is through a primetime Oval Office address. The majesty of the setting, the request for valuable television time.
The president says he wants airtime. He just gets it, right? Well, the answer is no.
President Trump, you will not get your wall.
A wall is an immorality. It's not who we are as a nation.
Have you considered using emergency powers to grant yourself authorities to build this wall without congressional approval?
Yes, I have. And I can do it if I want.
And so he doesn't need the Congress to appropriate the funds for the wall. He can just do it.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the wall?
No, we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely.
It's now up to you to decide which side you're on. That's where we are. And Trump is moving in the right direction, and the only direction he has, to use his constitutional executive power against traitors in the government to declare a national emergency and take matters into his own hands. Our destinies are now bound forever. And we ask you to now take action and declare the national emergency and clear the scourge of the foreign globalist infestation threatening America and the world.
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones coming to you live from the front lines of the InfoWar.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new year is here. And I personally in the new year am looking at all the great supplements and products at InfoWarsLife.com and saying, what do I need to take religiously that I'm forgetting to take, that lowers inflammation, that empowers all the cells in the body, that makes me healthier, better stamina, libido, energy? And it's these three babies. It's Body's Ultimate Turmeric Formula with 95% curcuminoid. Nobody else can top that. Top of the line in the nation. It's X3 that has all three of the good types of iodine together, including the deep earth crystal iodine. Because some people can't absorb that type, we put a little bit of the other two types and a tiny bit of vitamin C to stabilize it. And then Super Male and Super Female Vitality. Super Male Vitality's been our overall most successful product, neck and neck with Brain Force Plus. But because it's wildcrafted and it's a proprietary process, we weren't able to get it for long periods of time. And so I made the decision just to discontinue it and try to reformulate. But it's been very, very hard to do. So we're not discontinuing it because it's crap. We're discontinuing it because we can't get it. It may come back in the future, but right now we're just not able to bring you this. It's our last run of it. Proprietary, amazing. It's at InfoWarsLife.com. InfoWarsStore.com is the umbrella site. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139. Body's Turmeric Formula. And it's supercharged with other key ingredients that supercharge it, bring it to the next level. And then, of course, it's the X3. It's our final run of X2. We've secured the deep earth iodine, but I thought to make a better one with all 3 types and the vitamin C. So get your X2, get your X3, all at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And again, have a great New Year as we fight the globalist and restore the republic and freedom to the planet. Thank you all.
Tomorrow's news today.
Let's go to Wild Man in Illinois. Thanks for holding and about to say Happy New Year. Go ahead.
Alex, yeah, going into 2019, what Trump's got to do to save America, he's got to declassify FISA, expose the corruption, arrest the traitors, and arrest the pedophiles. That's how he saves America. My opinion, an over-the-road trucker, hardworking, honest man, that's what I believe.
I agree. Victory or death. He's now, looks like he's cleaning house. He's getting rid of all the double agents. And the word is Trump is going to go into battle now. We're talking he's going to strike back against the censorship. He's going to strike back against the pedophile rings. It's already begun. He's going to strike back against the deep state. He's going to strike back against all the criminal activity of Comey and Mueller being Russian operatives. So just get ready.
Another note, I've spent over $3,000 in your store this year. I'm a loyal supporter, and thanks for great products.
Brother, let me tell you something. I want to thank you. If folks like you didn't stand with us against the incredible Hillary Clinton and Soros attacks, which they admit they're running, we would not be here now. They're taking Michael Savage off the air. They're taking everybody. They took Franklin Graham off Facebook. They need to get us all off the air before they make their move on Trump. That's why this is a war. And you supporting us is incredible. Which products do you like the best?
Man, I use the bodies. I got so many of the t-shirts that ain't even funny. I got your stickers posted on my hard hat, on my GPS, my truck. I tell truckers about you over the CB Airways all across the country. I spread the word about you. I wear your clothes, your hats, your shirts, you name it. Multitude of products.
How much love do you get versus hate do you get?
It's people skeptical, but like it's probably about 50-50 or 60-40 your way. It's just so many people got their head in the sand out here.